What's up, Ethan? Appreciate you
Hi.
hopping on with me here, man. So what has your journey into real estate looked like? What did you do before real estate? What got you interested in real estate, specifically wholesaling real estate as a business model?
Yeah, I was doing medical sales before. Like I go visit all the hospitals in Orange County, and it's kind of a tiring business, but that's what I was doing before. And then moved over to real estate just because it's a little bit more individual. I make the hours where when you do medical sales, like if I didn't visit a hospital for a week, they'd start sending their patients to someone else. Like it's super cutthroat. Where real estate's nice because it's as much as you want to work. Whether that's a lot, if you want to work a lot, you see a lot of results, but as well, if you don't work as much, it takes a little bit longer to grow it.
Absolutely,
So yeah, it
man.
was nice.
How how long did it take you from when you first decided you wanted to try to, I guess wholesale estate to when you got your first check? What was that timeline like?
For us, our issue was it took us about 4 months to get our first check. And that directly relates to the fact that I was doing the cold calling. I was the one calling all day, every day for like 8 to 10 hours a day for 3 months. I was cold calling. And then once we got our first check, we could hire a cold caller, and then it started to roll a lot quicker after that. So you technically can start with like no money down, but if you
Yeah,
have some money saved up, it
a lot
definitely is
easier.
a
Yeah.
way easier. Yeah.
That's why I don't love like the no, no money required, because that's what I see across the board, right? People get into it and their timeline seems to decrease the more and more money they can spend. And not massive amounts of money. If you have 2 grand to go hire a cold caller, it helps quite a bit. So
Yeah.
you have a partner too. So I guess that's a big, obviously reason why I think the group is so beneficial for you, because you found your partner through the group, right, Brian?
Yeah.
But break it down for us how you heard about our group, why you decided to join, how that came about with you and Brian meeting, and why you guys decided to partner up. And yeah, what that whole beginning of your journey looked like.
Yeah. So I heard you on the Bigger Pockets podcast.
Mhm.
And so that's how I got a hold of it. And then I think it took me a while to even know what really wholesaling was. There was some other people on there that had that were wholesalers on the podcast as well. Um, it just seemed like a good way to get into real estate, which is why I kind of connected to it. There's very little money invested. There's very little risk. You won't lose a ton of money if you
Mhm.
mess up. So that part was definitely nice. What I like too is I met my partner Brian, and we're almost exact opposites. Like I call people all the time. I'm fine doing sales. I don't mind giving people lowball offers. None of that bothered me at all. But what I
Mhm.
hate doing is once someone's signed up and I've made the sale, I hate doing the follow up. Like after they sign a contract, I have some mental block with it. And Brian is very good at once the contract is signed or the agreement, he's super good at selling it to someone else. And that's
Mhm.
something I hate. Like I constantly want to be finding and prospecting and calling leads. But like once they're signed up, I just couldn't do that on my own because I feel like it's in my mind not a waste of time, but it's like I should just be prospecting the whole time. And Brian's really good at making those relationships with buyers and packaging up everything really nice and orderly and like sending it out to people. Because even now we work with a couple wholesalers in Texas that contact Brian to JV stuff now. And even though they've been doing it years, they're contacting Brian, who's only done it a couple months because of how good he is at that side of the business. So yeah, we have some people that just send us JV stuff because of how good Brian is at selling it.
That's awesome, man. That's a good place to be in, especially in a changing market. So what
Yeah.
why did you so you heard of me in Bigger Pockets? Why did you decide to actually join the trigger, invest in pull the trigger, invest into wholesale and jump in?
Well, I mean, the first thing was you responded. And I know that sounds like super lame, but it's like a lot of these investors are not that they're too big, they just don't reply. They don't personally care about their people.
Mhm.
Um, and so it felt like there was more of a personal touch with you and Mike where you guys know our name, you know what market we're in, you know our situation, um, like you know how well we work. So there was like you replied fast and you were like on the ball, and it wasn't like you tried to convince me to join the group, but it was like you were there to kind of hold our hand and help
Mhm.
us out with different ways. Um,
Mhm.
considering we didn't have any money to start with. So you guys definitely helped us out a lot with that. But that's kind of why I chose to go with you guys, is because I don't know, you like replied.
That's awesome,
You
man.
like you didn't, yeah, shove us off to the side.
And then when you got into the group, so you and Brian were not partners yet when you guys both
Mhm.
when you guys both joined, did that 4 week intensive cohort after you joined. So what sparked that, right? During that 4 week intensive, you're both kind of grinding away. I remember you were cold calling all day, every day, and Brian was kind of trying to figure it out as well. He had had some real estate agent experience, I think, if I remember correctly, where he had been in real estate for.
Yeah.
How did that come about? You guys probably talked offline and were like, hey, let's try this thing out, or what did that look like?
Yeah, I think it was in the beginning. I was sometimes too embarrassed to ask the simple questions to you and Mike, of like something simple as like, oh, like how do I call someone on Podio, or like something like super small. And so I
Mm-hmm.
started to ask Brian. I think he would ask me back. So we just kind of started talking back and forth because we were both new. He had tried to start wholesaling on his own with a different group and didn't really make it. And so I think he was kind of with you guys. He had tried someone else before, and then he decided to go with you guys, and now it's been working fine. So I don't want to throw shade at the other group, but you
No,
guys,
it's not.
it worked this time. So
That's awesome.
yeah, that was good for him.
And where are you guys at now, 2022, moving into 2023? What have you guys accomplished so far? You don't need to go into like specific number stuff, but like, do you feel you're at a good place in your business? Do you have a pretty good traction? Are you rolling? Are you getting ready to take advantage of the shift in market? Or what does your guys' business look like right now going into 2023?
Yeah, we were doing good when we were selling to like, some funds and other things. And when the market shifted, it got quiet for probably 2 months, and we didn't make a sale for 2 months.
Mhm.
But since the market started going down, I feel like we've accelerated stuff. We've made a lot more sales. We made bigger volume than we were doing before when the market was good. So yeah, we've definitely gotten better the last couple months. We just hired a lead manager. We just hired a couple of our own cold callers to start calling. So it seems like we're trying to take the steps to kind of grow it past what me and Brian can do. We're trying to get a lot more volume and work less.
Start building an actual company. Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of the goal we have, is to build a company so we don't have to be calling all the time.
That's the right idea, man. And what would you say, the pros and cons of the wholesale heroes, the 4 week intensive, everything that comes with it, the weekly calls? What have been the most beneficial parts to you, and the parts that you think, I guess, if you were going to recommend to someone to join wholesale heroes, what would you say would make it a good decision for them? And what would you say, maybe it wouldn't be the best fit for them? If that makes sense.
Yeah. What I like is the community, how there's a lot of people you can ask a question in the chat. I mean, even I asked a pretty dumb question a couple weeks ago and everyone still replied to it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I don't know, there people are involved. Um, and then I don't know, not maybe not necessarily a bad thing. Um, I have to think about that. Something that's
Or less than a bad
not
thing.
the best.
So like,
Yeah.
if someone's, I guess, what would be an avatar that you would say isn't a good fit for the group, right? Like if I came to you and like, what's a trait you would look at to say, hey, you might not be a great fit to join this?
I mean, they have to be, I think it takes more time than what people think.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times they're like, oh, I can do this on the side. And it's like, yeah, I guess technically you could do it on the side, but you're not going to be a good salesperson. So you're not going to get many sales from it. It's like, it takes time. This is a very unique sales process that a lot of people don't have experience with. And I don't know, I do think a lot of gurus try to sell people on you can make 100,000 in your first month, or even you can make 10,000 in your first month. And it's like, I think that's true maybe for some people that have the resources, but we didn't get our first sale till 4 months in. But after that, we started like getting consistent sales. It just took us. So I think sometimes people over exaggerate how quick it is to make money on this.
Yeah.
Um, you can make a lot of money. It just takes longer than a couple months.
Yeah.
And you definitely have to go into it thinking like, this isn't just a high paying job. It's like they teach you how to grow a company. You're not doing this to get a high paying job. You're doing it to grow and expand. I think a lot of that um, is kind of preached, not necessarily you guys, but just kind of in the community, is
Oh,
they always
absolutely.
highlight
Yeah.
100,000 your first month.
Yeah.
They're like, this guy did that, but
Yeah.
I don't know how.
I'll tell people piggybacking on that of like, you know, your journey is your journey. It might take you, like it took me 6 months to get my first deal cold calling back in the
Yeah.
day. And now, like 6 years later, it doesn't matter if it takes you 6 months or 12 months or 18 months. All that matters is you're putting in those reps, because eventually it's going to happen. And when it does happen, as long as you were rolling that money into more education, obviously the right education, you know, more, you know, cold callers, whatever's working for you, doubling down on that, it'll happen quicker and quicker between each deal, right?
Yeah.
And before you know it, you'll be doing deals every month, and it'll be weird to have a deal, have a month with no deals, and that happens naturally. So yeah, I like to tell people not to worry about that too much, and just, you know, focus on what they can control in their journey. And that's the cool thing about our group is, you know, everyone's starting at a different starting point, and usually you're able to find someone that's kind of on the same track as you, which is super helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for, I guess, wrapping up here, so what is, you know, is there anything else you want to share about the group, or good pros, cons, why you think people should join, why you think, like what's your favorite part? Is it the community part, or is it the weekly calls, or what makes it, you know, a worthwhile investment of your time now, right? You've already invested the money to join back in the day, but what makes it a worthwhile
Yeah.
uh time investment now?
Dude, those weekly calls are very nice. Because it's like dispo acquisitions, dispo acquisitions. So it's nice to have that constant update of like, you know,
Yeah.
I have Mike on the acquisition side that's like, okay, the market has changed in the last 2 weeks. This is how we've been adjusting. And like, that's pretty invaluable. Like, that's very valuable. The other thing is with the community, when I began, I used to message people from the group and just say, hey, do you want to practice sales? Like, do you want to practice, do some practice calls?
Mm.
Because my partner doesn't do the acquisition side, so I could practice with him, but I wanted to have someone else be it to that I could practice with, just to go over common objections and practice going over different things. And so
Yeah.
that was nice too. So the group is as good as you want to make it. Like, yeah, there are people there that do want to help out and do want to practice, but you have to kind of
Reach out.
ask them. Yeah, you gotta reach out too and do that.
100%.
Yeah, the calls are nice.
Well, cool, man. I appreciate you jumping on and sharing your experience. For you guys watching this, Ethan is very willing to share. And once you guys are inside the group, you'll be able to connect with him more on a one-on-one basis offline. So appreciate your time, Ethan. I appreciate you jumping on here and giving us this testimonial. And again, you guys watching this, if you guys do decide to join, you guys will have all the same stuff that Ethan's talked about in this interview.